Okay, I think we are live on Facebook now. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Thomas. I'm a social studies teacher from Mesa and currently serve as president of the Arizona Education Association. Thank you all for joining us today for a recap of what happened down at the legislature this week. We just begun what will be a long and looks like a fairly treacherous legislative session for public schools, students, and the educators that work there. And so it's really important for us to be able to connect with you all and give you the information that you need, an understanding of the bills and opportunities to act on them, because we absolutely know how incredibly exhausted and challenging or exhausted the work is now and how challenging the work is, even though you all are still doing amazing things in your districts. We value your time, certainly value your membership, but we are going to all have to take individual actions that will end up sending a lot of contact to our legislators to help them understand what really is going on in our classrooms and our hallways and on our bus routes. And we have no one better to be giving you that information than our brand new government relations director, Brenden Foland, that you all met last week. He is an expert on this stuff, and we are working with him to make sure that your voice is represented where it needs to be. So, Brenden, I'm going to hand it over to you to give us that week recap.
Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Just a quick update and recap from this week. On Tuesday, we had both House and Senate education. In the House, there was a bit of a contentious debate around House Bill 2112, which is the teacher gag bill. Just as a quick reminder, this is the bill that would prohibit including any concept that any race, ethnic group, or sex is inherently superior to another in any course or any lesson that you teach. There was some extensive discussion on what the proponents said that the bill did, as well as what the bill actually does and says in the language. There were several members of the AEA that came out to testify against the bill. They did a phenomenal job. The bill unfortunately did pass out of committee on a party line vote with all the Democrats voting no. There were a few Republican legislators that had concerns yet still voted for the bill. Representative Joel John had some concerns that the bill was a little vague, while Representative Fillmore had issues that the bill did not go far enough to gag and punish teachers. This bill, just as a heads up, is already on the agenda for House Rules next week, so expected to go through both Rules, Caucus, and then go to the floor for debate soon. And if Joe wants to talk a little bit about the bill and his experience.
Sure. This was the first bill that we brought members in to testify on in House Education, and it's exactly what Brenden just described. It's a horrible bill. It's aimed at all these rumors of what it is that's going on in our classrooms, which is why it's important for us to reach out to legislators and talk to them about what is really happening, what you're able to do, the successes that you're having with your students, and the challenges that the legislature could help you overcome. So this was one of the few times where after I gave a little testimony, they actually asked me questions, which was wonderful. And AEA clipped a video of it, and you'll see Fillmore asking like a 3-minute rambling question where he balled up, Representative Fillmore, where he balled up all of his frustrations with public schools. There's a little bit of that energy out there, but it's because they don't understand what it is that you're doing. And that is the power of your story. You normalize it every day. The work you do with your students, the work with your colleagues, supporting the classroom or working in the classroom. It's your job, and so you think it's normal. But the public doesn't understand the stresses that you're under and how you are still rising above that to do everything that you possibly can for your students. So this bill is going to move forward. You heard Brenden say it's already moving to its second committee. We anticipate it really requiring a lot of effort to stop. There's absolutely no reason that this bill should be in existence, because they're attacking fantasy things that they think are going on in our classrooms, and it's just not happening. So unfortunately, this is the kind of bill we're going to see this year, and Brendan's going to talk about a few more like it.
Thanks, Joe. One more bill that I wanted to highlight from this week was Senate Bill 1011, School Board Association membership payments. This is a bill that's looking to target the Arizona School Boards Association. and hurt them financially by prohibiting any school district from using any tax monies to pay for membership in ASBA or the National School Boards Association. This was a, pardon me, another bill that passed out on a party line vote with the Democrats opposing the bill while the Republicans voted unanimously to pass the bill. That bill is also on the Senate rules agenda next week, so we'll be moving quickly through the process. They're not slowing down though, unfortunately. So it looks like next week is going to be a rather contentious week. Quite a few bills that we wanted to highlight for you all. Senate Bill 1010 and will be in Senate Education. This is school districts protesting partisan elections. So this bill is going to make every school board race a partisan race. And then it also prohibits school districts from requiring any form for authorization or permit for anybody to peacefully protest on school property after school hours or in any location where a school meeting is taking place. And the bill also prevents school districts from removing anyone who is peacefully protesting on school property. One of the issues we see with this bill is partisan elections have no place in school boards, but also there's a lack of definition on school hours, as well as what is defined as a school meeting. So we don't know if that includes student-led clubs or student organizations. So there's a bit of a uncertainty around that. Senate Bill 1159 is a teacher certification bill. So this bill alters teacher certification statutes. So anyone who goes through any traditional, alternative, or classroom-based teacher preparation program, or if they get a subject matter expert certification, will all now receive the exact same teacher certification, which is just a standard teaching certificate. The bill also expands the classroom-based teacher prep programs. And these are programs, for those of you who don't know, that where people learn how to teach while they're in front of a classroom teaching students already. These programs will now allow anyone with a substitute teaching intern, or emergency teacher certificate to participate in them. Additionally, anyone with an associate's or bachelor's degree, any current paraprofessionals or instructional aides can also enroll in these classroom-based teacher prep programs. The bill will also allow any district or charter school to establish an alternative preparation program to certify their own principals, assistant principals, supervisors, and any other school level leadership positions. And while the bill does require approval for these programs by the State Board of Education, it prohibits the board from establishing any rules that are more strict than state statute. And I'll let Joe speak on this one a bit.
Yeah, so this is a horrible bill, and it's clearly aimed at offering the ability or providing the opportunity for more people to be called a teacher, regardless of what level of support they've received, how much pedagogy that they've learned. The problem is that for the last 10 years, Arizona has been lessening certification rules, saying that that's the easiest way to get more teachers into the classroom. Other states that haven't done any of that, other states that have maintained a very high level of certification, making sure that professionals are ready to enter the classroom to be ready to teach, and that the other certificated positions, are people that are ready, they're prepared. Other states have held the line, and they're just now with a large number of absences of educators in their schools, they're just now starting to lessen some of the temporary certification requirements that Arizona's been slashing for a decade. So a lot of the other states are going to have to make just little temporary adjustments, and they're going to be able to bring people into the classroom that actually have a lot of training. Whereas Arizona looks like, if this bill passes, we're going to let charter schools determine what a teacher prep program looks like and what a teacher is. We're going to let school districts do the same thing. We're going to be able to do that with principals. And so think about how upset some of your colleagues have been when you get a new principal at a site and they've only had 3 or 4 years as a classroom teacher before they move up into the principal, and you're worried about the level of experience and their understanding. This could bring anyone in with 0 years teaching and put them into principalship. I mean, we don't know how wide they're going to blow this one open. They've always attacked certification. There's just this mindset that anyone can do what you all do. And we know that's not true, because if anyone could do it, it's a lot of vacancies right now, and the substitutes would be flying off the shelves coming into our schools. So we're going to keep our eye on this one, because we absolutely believe that professionals are the ones who should be leading the classroom. If a lot of people are called teachers and they haven't had the proper schooling, they're going to get a job next door to you. And who's going to have to support them? Who's going to have to help them with classroom discipline, with putting together their lesson plans? It's going to be us. So this becomes another burden, which is another reason why we need to keep high levels of certification. Brenden.
Thank you, Joe. And moving on to the House, there's a few more bills than in the Senate that we have to deal with. House Bill 2161, Parental Rights, Schools, Educational Records. It's a bill from Representative Kaiser. So this bill requires schools provide access to all written and electronic records of a school district or school district employee on their child. And schools and employees are also prohibited from withholding or concealing any information from the student's parents about the student's physical, emotional, or mental health, or the student's gender identity. The bill also allows parents to sue a district or charter school for any violation of the bill. So it's creating a bounty style system for parents to sue schools any chance they get. House Bill 2284, Schools Student Promotions, is a bill from Representative Fillmore. This has been introduced the past few years in a row, but has not made it through the process. This bill would mandate that teachers retain students in grades kindergarten through 4 if the student doesn't meet certain criteria established by the State Board of Education. There are a few exemptions for English learners and special education services, but those are the only exemptions. And I'll let Joe talk about this one a little bit as well.
Sure. I mean, if you're an elementary teacher, certainly in some of those grades, you have sat through those very difficult, complex conversations with your student and with their parents on what is best for them, weighing the idea of retention for a semester or a year, or pushing them forward and getting some supplemental help like summer school or additional assistance in the next year. That's a conversation that needs to stay as close to the student as possible. And Representative Fillmore wants to draw a hard line with criteria set up by the State Board of Education for them to say, here's the pass-fail rate, and any child that doesn't, K through 4, that doesn't achieve whatever that level is, absolutely has to be held back. I think parents are gonna rise up against this one with us. This one cannot move forward. You need to be able, as an elementary teacher, you need to be able to still have that conversation and find what's the best pathway forward for that child.
Thanks, Joe. House Bill 2439, School Library Books, Parental Review, is a bill from Representative Pingarelli. This bill requires school district governing boards to adopt procedures that allows parents to have access to the school's entire catalog of library books or materials. The bill also requires that school boards approve all books in school libraries, as well as keep a list of all books being purchased. And before purchasing any new library books, the list of books being purchased has to be made available for public review for at least 60 days. So if your school decides that they want to purchase a new Clifford book, they have to let it sit on a shelf for 60 days while parents review that book. House Bill 2495, Schools Sexually Explicit Materials Prohibition. This bill is from Representative Hoffman. It prohibits all public schools from referring students to or using any sexually explicit material, and defines sexually explicit material as any textual, visual, or audio materials that depict sexual conduct, sexual excitement, or ultimate sexual acts. This bill is written so broadly in its definition that things could be prohibited. It could prohibit the teaching of historical literature such as Shakespeare. Another important thing to note is the bill includes homosexuality in the definition of sexual conduct. And the wording is once again so broad and vague on this part that it could impact the ability to teach accurate and honest history that includes important members of the LGBT community, such as Harvey Milk or Pete Buttigieg. And I'll let Joe talk on this one as well.
Sure. This is my representative, Hoffman, and it's just another poorly worded bill. And what's really important about understanding what's really wrong with bills that aren't specific is, as an educator, you'll get a set of guidelines that will be poorly interpreted from the legislature through either your administrator and your school district's attorney. They're going to do their best to understand, to give you what you need to know so you can abide by the law. But these are so broad that attorneys are going to do their job, which is to make sure you don't cross that line and you stay far behind it. And so there will be things that you wouldn't even consider, like Shakespeare, you wouldn't even consider that would suddenly be banned because the topics or the stories or the engagement around the lesson has some of these concepts in it. And so it's overly broad. And it's, from a side of the aisle that hates cancel culture, this is exactly what this is around some of our classic novels and some of our modern day novelists and important topics that students will engage in. Again, this is another example, as are all of these bills that you've heard, of, in particular, legislative Republicans writing bills and hearing them, because they have the majority, hearing them in committee, that are attempting to drive a wedge between parents and teachers. It cannot happen. I don't think it will happen, but we can't sit idly by. The most powerful duo in the life of a student, in their trajectory through the K-12 system, is the parent, both parents and the educator. Every educator that student has. We have to keep that bond intact. And the best way to do it, absolutely the best way to do it, and you proved this back in 2018, is to tell the story of what is going on in your classroom, the successes that you're having with your students, even though it's more challenging most days than it has been. But you're still getting through, you're still teaching them. You know you can do it. We cannot normalize it. We have to talk about it on Facebook posts and social media, in emails to legislators. We're going to help coordinate some of that, but don't wait for us. If you know how to do it and you've done it in the past, start talking to them. Email your legislator, even if they're friendly, even if they're someone we've endorsed in the past. They need to hear from you. And I know that takes time and energy. But if we don't talk to them, all they're going to hear are the screaming, angry adults that have been showing up at governing board meetings or that were there a few months ago. And if that's all you heard about that was going on in any industry, you would be concerned. They need to hear from us. They need to hear the truth of what is going on and what we need to be even more successful. And we have to be those messengers. The public trusts you. They absolutely understand your authenticity and your commitment to students. And I know that there's more examples of some parents that don't do that now, but I promise you, they are in the minority. Your students see the work that you're doing. Their parents see the commitment you have to their students. The legislature doesn't see it. So we have to hold it up in front of them until we see them kind of nodding and saying, I get it. That will stop some of these bills. But we're going to have to work really hard on doing it. So we're going to do these legislative updates every week. We're going to have Brenden here that's going to be walking us through all this. You're going to see action alerts that are going to come in your mailbox. And we're only going to do that at the critical moments because we know that your time is valuable and you need to be rested and ready to get back to working with your students. Brenden, any final thoughts before I talk about some of the upcoming events?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right. So some of the things, the opportunities that people have are AEA retired cadre, Arizona Education Association retired day at the Capitol is going to be next Wednesday. And so if you want more information about that, if you're a retired member of AEA, reach out to your president, Ana Cicero, and she will give you all the information that you need. We're going to also have another Ask Your Union, which is a kind of a webinar like this next Thursday at 5:30, where we're going to talk about this archaic law called the Aggregate Expenditure Limit. But what it really means is the legislature may force schools to cut $1.5 billion from this year's budget. The one you're in right now. And we'll talk about that next Thursday at 5:30. We hope you all can join us then. You should be receiving an email with instructions and a login for that as well. It's a members only opportunity to understand the aggregate expenditure limit and how it could be a catastrophe for schools this year. Thank you all for spending some time with us, whether you watched this Friday live or you watched it while it's on Facebook. Your membership, your profession, AEA is here for you to support you through all of this. So reach out when you need a little support. Our emails are on the website. You can work through your local president. But we want to carry your voice and your stories to the legislature, and we want to have some of you all, when you can find the time to get away, to come in and testify as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to engage. Take the ones that you can, but they need to hear what it is you're doing so they'll see what it is you're doing. Thank you all so much. Thank you for being members of the association. Thank you for your commitment to students and what you do for them every single day.